It's Pete Cohen. It's episode 180 of the My 365 podcast series. And it's that special time of the month where it's our member of the month. And I'm sure you're going to really enjoy this podcast today as we interview someone who I've known for actually quite a long time. I've had the privilege of working with her for an extended period of time. An incredibly inspirational lady. Let's get ready for another My 365 podcast. Happy, beautiful day, everyone. It's episode 180 of the My 365 podcast series. And today it's member of the month for the month of March. Marching on, it's Elaine Jews. Elaine, how are you?
Brilliant. Thank you, Pete. How are you?
I am great. Thank you. Thank you so much for agreeing to be our member of the month. And I think the first question I'm going to ask you is, when I contacted you and told you, what was your initial thought?
Definitely went very weird. Got a bit hot and flustered, and then thought, "Wow, that's amazing." And then I calmed down and thought, "Yeah, great. Whoa, another experience for me."
Yes, it's been interesting because the last two members of the month, they both said the same thing, that they felt this. Oh, now I've got to live up to the fact that my name is up in lights. I don't know whether. Do you feel that at all?
A little, yes, but I'm quite good at monitoring my own feelings and say, "Oh, for God's sake, get real, Elaine. It's just a bit of fun and it's an experience, and just hope that everyone else enjoys it and gets something out of it."
Yeah. So, I mean, when I do these podcasts, I never know what I'm going to talk about. I mean, I obviously know a bit of your story, but already something has come to mind that I think would be a good thing to talk about, which is about when you're injured and when your body is not able to do what it is that you want it to do, and how, because I know that you're one of those freaks like me, that you absolutely love exercise, whereas we know that most people don't. But before we get stuck into that, Elaine, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Okay, well, I was born in 1949, sort of post-war London, and I can still remember prefabs and rationing, things like that. Very hard time for my parents to be bringing up a young child.
Yeah.
And it was a good year, actually. 1966, I went to work. I left school, and this is what we did in London. You went to work in the city. That's just what happened. And I worked for the Bank of England, but I hated that. So I decided to go to PE college and train to be a teacher, which I did for, 8 years. Then I got fed up with going out in the cold and nagging the kids and where's your kit, that sort of stuff. Yeah. So I got into special needs for about 11 years. Amazing, really, when you think in those days, someone said, can you do this special needs job? No training, nothing. But I quite enjoyed that. A bit frustrating, but yeah. And then I retired because I had a massive back operation. And I worked for my husband for 10 years until I retired properly about 11 years ago. And that's what I do now. I do retirement.
Yes, but I know you're very active. And again, that's something else that we could talk about, because I know through the coaching that we've been doing together, that question came to you because we tend to look at three areas, right, that seem to be important to most people, which is our relationships and our health and our work, and or service. And because you're retired, you think, well, what work could I do? What goal could I set myself? But we're opening up a few different things here. But let's start off, Elaine. Just tell us a little bit about what My 365 has done for you.
Well, it's funny, I was looking through the journals at the end of the year when you wanted us to review, and I hadn't realised I'd started in 2017, but I didn't really get into it. I was a bit sort of overawed by it. And it wasn't until, no, that's a lie, 2016 at the end, when you first started, And then I think I just fell out of it for a bit. But by the end of 2018, I just realised how far I'd come in my personal development. This constant learning progress and growing progress. And it sometimes takes me a little while to get the hang of the things. It took me ages to get the hang of my duck.
Yeah.
I kept thinking, what duck? What's this duck? And I'm doing the same with the genie now, but I'm just getting there. You know, so I think what I've got out of it more than anything is this mind, body, and whatever you call it, inner body or spiritual connection.
Yeah. You know, because if people listen to this podcast, you know, all over the world, and I still think that some people listening go, why do you keep talking about ducks and genies? You know, I think I often take it for granted and think, well, people must know what that is. But just for those that don't, explain to us what that means to you, you know, the duck and the genie.
Well, the duck especially now, Sir-Gobalot, he's called.
Sir-Gobalot. That's what you've called your negative inner dialogue. Sir-Gobalot.
That's right. Sir-Gobalot, yes. Because I hadn't realised how much he did go on at me. And it wasn't until I realised about this, because I'm an only child, Pete, and there's a lot of inner dialogue, because I've always spoken to, you know, whether it's even aloud quite a lot. But I suddenly started to notice how negative and how frightened a lot of the dialogue was. Yeah. Yeah. And then I started to be able to do something about it, to turn it round and not listen to it. And I remember a pivotal time was when you said, make the duck your friend.
Yeah.
And that helped. And now I am aware of it, and I can shut him up, or I can say, yeah, stuff you. I'm going to show you.
So when you said that you were a lonely child and that there was a lot of fear, what sort of things would you be saying to yourself?
Well, the fear of my mum, bless her, loved me to bits, but I always felt that I couldn't let her down.
Yeah,
I had to live up to her expectation, and that stayed with me right the way through. I always felt that I could let myself down, probably more than anything. And I always felt inadequate, especially when I got into a situation with the teaching special needs I'd never done before. I kept thinking, oh God, I could just massively mess this up. And I always thought everyone else was better than me at it.
Yeah.
You know, but it's taken me a long time to get over that. And it doesn't happen hardly at all now, unless I'm in a situation where I'm really uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that, because, you know, I think it's something that a lot of people we don't talk about. We don't talk about how we think, and we don't talk about how we feel about ourselves. And yet our life is totally kind of governed by those conversations that we have with ourselves. And when you first heard me talk about the genie, which, as you know, is what the Romans believed, that everyone had a genius inside them, you know, a much stronger guiding voice that would get them to do things that perhaps we didn't even think that we could do. When you became aware of that there is another part of you, what was that like for you? Was that a revelation? Was that kind of like
absolutely, because I used to listen to SJ, and I kept thinking, what was this? I just can't get the hang of this. And then I tell you what helped was Kate the other day named her genie.
Yeah.
And suddenly this vision of my genie came into my mind, and that is inside me. I thought, oh yeah, this is great. I now know how much more potential I have because of this genie.
Yeah. And you talk about SJ and you talk about Kate. These are all other members of My 365 Elite. Tell me what it's like to be around other people who are going through a similar journey of developing themselves. What difference does that make to you personally?
Well, I couldn't ask for a better model, role model with these people. Yeah. And I think there's two aspects as far as I'm concerned. One, I can learn from these very successful people, but equally I can listen to people. I made this point a few days ago that thinking, whether they've had financial problems or children problems or married, whatever, I think, yeah, actually I've had all that, but I've got through it. And what it made me realise was how much more peaceful I am within myself, because I've had all those challenges, and got through it.
Yeah, most definitely. So one of the things I've heard you say, and I heard you say this not long ago, is how much you love your rituals. And,
oh, yes, I do.
I'm a bit like you. I think where you and I are, again, a bit strange is the fact that we like exercise, but we like improving just for the sake of improving. And I heard a guy called Russell Brunson, who's very well known in the kind of social media world. And I heard him say that only 2% of people are actually interested in self-improvement. So if you're not interested in self-improvement and you want change, you better have a big enough reason for changing. Otherwise, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Do you think that's true? Do you think that you would just find yourself improving yourself if you had nothing to do? You'd pick up a book and read it and make notes and...
Yes, I've always been a bit like that. The trouble I have these days is retaining it. But I've always got notes, and when I read things like on the Kindle, I highlight all the pieces that I'm interested in. But I don't like writing in books much, but I'm happy to deface my Kindle. And so that I can go back to it. And sometimes even when I'm within reading the book, I go back and read the highlights just to remind myself and to refresh it all, because I can't remember it all. There's so much stuff. I sometimes think, as you get, your mum may identify with this, that my head is one massive filing cabinet, and it takes longer and longer and longer to sift through all those files to get to where I want to be.
So what is it about learning and growing and keeping rituals that is so important for you? What does that do for you? And because in essence, we're kind of saying to people, look, if you want to create an amazing life, you need to recognize that maybe there are a few things that you need to do every day. Ideally, do them in the morning. Why do you do the things that you do? What does that do for you, get you?
Well, one of the things that when I first retired which was 11 years ago, I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do with all this time? But the first thing I did was join a gym. Second thing I did was enroll in a course, a design and interior design course. So that's very much, I like to be occupied. I like to learn. I need to learn. And when I introduced the rituals to my morning, it gave me a whole great setup for the day. Because when you're tired, you actually think, I haven't got to get up yet. And several of my friends, they lie in bed until 9:30, listening to the radio or reading or whatever. But I don't like to do that. I like to utilise every minute of my day. And the rituals, and each and every ritual I have has an amazing benefit.
Right. So tell me about you tell me yours and I'll tell you mine.
Okay. Yes, okay, I won't develop that. Well, always I start off with a meditation. There's always your meditation. And I actually do that while I'm still in bed. As soon as I wake up, I think, right, what can I be doing? And I plug into whatever ritual I'm doing on the masterclass.
Yeah.
Occasionally with the priming as well, because that is such an amazing meditation. Later on in the day, I'll do a head-based one because I'm trying to really go into it a little bit more deeply.
Yes.
And I do a brain tap. This is Dr. Chris's.
Another My 365. Yeah. So like a brain tap. So what do you do?
Well, I just listen. It gets through to your subconscious.
Oh, okay. Right. Oh, I know exactly what that is. Yeah. It's something you put on, right? It's like
I haven't got the lights because that was silly money. But Dr. Chris says
So you really start off by getting your head in the right place, right?
Absolutely. And then I set my intentions for the day. I go through what I'm going to do and to achieve in my rituals. Then when I get up, straight away it's lemon and ginger. I drink my water when I wake up, lemon and ginger. Then I sit and write my journal. And that again reinforces my intentions, but also sets me up for an element of success through the day.
Yeah.
I also do that again in the evening, and I try and get as much positivity out of that, my day, even if I haven't achieved everything I've wanted to.
Yeah.
I think, well, okay, yeah, but I've done that and that and that. Don't dwell on the fact that I didn't do this and this. Just take out the best, the very best from my day, and celebrate that.
Yes.
Then what do I do? Oh yes, then this is fairly recent. I've added reading. As soon as I've done the journal, I sit there with a coffee and do the reading for 10, 15 minutes, sometimes longer.
And again, what does that do for you?
Oh, I love that. I absolutely adore it because it makes me sit down. It makes me be quiet and nothing else goes on. And it's always a book. Like at the moment, it's the Hal Elroy.
Miracle Morning.
Miracle Morning, which I'm reading, and my next one will be Sleep Smarter by Sean Stevenson.
Yeah.
So I've got that lined up, and Shut the Duck Up is also there as well.
Yes. So after you've done your rituals, how does that make you feel?
Ready. I can get on with stuff then. I feel good. I feel.
I think is it a feeling of accomplishment as well?
Oh, definitely. Very. I often write that in at the end of how do you feel? I often write accomplished.
You know, it's fascinating because the word psychology, I didn't know this till recently. It means the study of the soul. Now, you were talking about before the mind, the body, the soul, the spirit. You know, these are things that they're a bit, I don't know, esoteric. You can't necessarily prove these things. But the guy who started the forefather of positive psychology was saying that, a guy called Martin Seligman was saying, okay, well, we're studying the soul of a person, but we're looking at what's wrong with a person. And that's where psychology was often, it was kind of based in its origin, what's wrong with people. So then through that kind of progressing, you know, they started looking at happiness, you know, what is happiness, life satisfaction. And you'd think that for a lot of people, being happy might be getting up anytime they want, listening to the radio, not necessarily having any structure to their day, just being able to do what they want when they want. But what we found is that life satisfaction hasn't improved over the last, 30, it's kind of stayed the same. And the guy who started positive psychology, he's now saying, well, I was wrong, because real happiness from the research is showing it's when people are flourishing. It's when they are doing a few things. There's meaning, they have relationships, they're engaged, but they're achieving things. How important is it for you to be in the achieving frame of mind and every day to look that there are things that you're putting your energy into and getting something out of it?
Oh, I think especially in the realms of exercise, I've never been a team person, not a great team person. But what I love is competing with myself. I feel that's a real achievement. It used to be like, lifting heavier weights. Now it's more likely to be swimming a bit further or to work harder on my yoga and achieve a position that I haven't been able to. So that is very, very important to me, especially in the relationship. I want to achieve. My second husband has 3 children, so there's 3 of them and 5 grandchildren, and sometimes that's hard. And I feel through, if I can just mention another ritual, which is my gratitude, my grateful flow, and expressing love for everybody in my immediate life, that I have better relationships with them, because and I acknowledge that I have to do all that work, that they just I think what it is that if I'm happier, more content, the people around me are happier and more content.
It's that whole thing, isn't it, about going first? And
yes,
you were I'm of a slightly younger generation to you, but if you think about what we've experienced in our lives, it's pretty incredible in terms of how things have changed. changed beyond. And now it seems like more and more people do not want to take responsibility for changing their life. They want something to be given, or they want to be told what to do. What advice would you give to people, younger people who want to create a meaningful life?
Yeah, one thing that came to mind there was, as I say, between us, we have 4 children. Every one of those has an amazing work ethic. They know they have to work hard. They know they have to achieve to do well, and they're prepared to put that work in. And I think that's absolutely vital.
I don't know whether you saw I posted something the other day with a guy called Joe DeSano, who's the guy who started Spartan Racing.
Oh, Spartan, that bloke. Yeah. No, I didn't see it, but I had read some of his stuff.
Well, he was one of the first podcasts I did, and there's a video. It's on my Facebook feed. Him with his kids, and he's making his kids in the snow carrying a kettlebell. And one of his kids said at the end, he goes, my dad's pushed me all my life, but now I push myself. How important do you think it is for people to push themselves and get uncomfortable and look to do more, achieve more, be more?
If they want to do well in life, in their career, with their family, I think it's a must, because you can't sit back and let things happen, because that just doesn't happen. And I think that the other thing that I've realised is that I've always been mentally and physically strong. And again, as an only child, if I didn't do something, it wouldn't happen. So I've been used to that. But what I've learned now is to use that strength, that physical and mental strength, better and for a better purpose. Whereas before I would manage, but not really know how to. But now I've got all these tools. I can use that to 100% effect. And, if people realise their potential and with making themselves uncomfortable, they'll have a much better life.
Yeah, it's another an amazing achievement, isn't it? When you do something you don't feel like doing it, or whether you go through something that's difficult, and you are a fantastic example. I really do look up to you, because you're someone who inspires me. I heard you say something not long ago where you said about how you're looking forwards to the life you have that's in front of you. Why? I mean, it's such a stupid question, isn't it, really? But
what happens is, this may make you laugh. I do the Serenity Prayer, and I was never comfortable with saying, God grant me. And I thought, actually, your age, hedge your bets, Elaine, mention God. It might stand you in good stead later.
Better to be safe than sorry, right?
Absolutely. But as you get older, you realise that you don't know how much longer you've got on this earth. And in my peer group, I have the most amazing group of friends. One has dementia. I have a cousin who's got dementia. Some else have heart problems. And you think, hold on here. I don't know what's in store for me, so I'm going to make the best of what I've got.
And what I love about that is that that's how your philosophy, that's how you're moving forward with your life. And I think what tends to happen is sometimes when we say that's what we're going to do, then all of a sudden it's like we're tested with our resolve to do that. And I know that you're tested because of the challenges that you have with your body. Just tell us what's going on with that, and how do you manage that?
Well, I remember I can remember it almost. I wished I could meet the osteopath again. I hurt my back on when I was teaching trampoline, and he said to me, "Oh, you've got one leg shorter than the other."
Yeah.
He did nothing about it.
Yeah.
So I've gone through my entire life being out of kilter. And as a consequence, I've had 3 prosthetic discs in my spine because I'd worn the lower vertebrae discs away. I've got an artificial right hip. I've had 3 knee operations on my dodgy knee, and I've had a neck fusion.
Yeah.
That guy had sorted me out with a prosthetic in my shoe. Then I bet I wouldn't have had half this issue.
Yeah.
but there you go. That's what it is. So my view is to keep myself as strong and as fit as I can to support those joints. And the knee issue could mess up my plans to travel. Well, you know, I do a lot of traveling because that's my really big why. But I'm buggered if I'm going to let that happen. So I do everything I possibly can to keep those muscles strong, keep them flexible. I ice my knee. I've got a TENS machine on. I have heat on my neck. You know, I just have to try and control it as much as I possibly can.
You are such a great example of so many things. And I think what I love about you the most, and I have no issue in telling you that I love you, is the love that you have for life.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
just I want to squeeze as much out of this thing as I possibly can. And I really hope that people who are listening to this really get it. And I also want to say something else, which is, you know, what I think is so great is that you just show up. You know, you why do you think that is so important? Because I think sometimes people think I must be mad because I just keep saying it. It's like, you know, I'm coaching you, so, you know, show up and share, you know, what's working. Why do you think it's so important to show up?
Well, initially, when you kept asking us to do that, it would have been my fear of not wanting to let anybody down.
Yeah.
But then I got to really enjoy it. And I remember, I don't remember who it was, but someone said, well, how can I show up? I don't know what to say. And I thought, well, that's not a problem. I always take joy in something, anything. Like today, I watched a thrush in the garden underneath the bird feeder. That never happens because they don't feed from the fat balls, but you know.
Yes.
Sprinkled, and the joy I got from just watching that, and that's probably, I'll mention something about it on today's post, because it got me just to think how lucky I am to witness that, and I feel quite privileged to be in this world and how beautiful it is.
Yeah, well, I really hope that people are listening to this, you know, that's one of the things they take away. I'd love to know, as we kind of bring this podcast to a close, is tell me what My 365 has done for you in terms of the different master classes. What do you think about it? What would you say to anyone out there that is considering coaching as a way of helping them create the life that they want?
Well, for me, I did struggle a little bit. The first two master classes I did, again, fear of failure. I wouldn't take the assessment.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, something clicked, and I thought, I'm really enjoying this. I think it may have been the wellness one, but you can see in my journal that suddenly it's full. There's no gaps, and you can see there's this almost like a pennies dropped, you know. And each masterclass I have done, I have got something out of, different in each case, that has put together a big jigsaw. Every time I do one, another part of the jigsaw. Desi mentioned this the other day, and I said I can identify with you so much on that. And suddenly I realised that they were all part of a bigger picture.
Yeah. Yeah, it's this rich tapestry of life, and that when you work on it, there's something always to discover. I just read a book for the third time. It's called the Leadership Challenge. And I was reading it, and I was thinking, I can't believe it. Why didn't I see this the first time around? And I think, you know, we never ever stop learning. And actually, when this podcast goes out, we would have been well into the wellness the Wellness 365 masterclass, where you wait till you see what we're going to be doing around helping people to develop coherence as opposed to incoherence in the body, and how that's all related to emotion. So I really want to thank you. I am looking forward to continuing this process with you. You're on Facebook, aren't you, Elaine?
I am, and do you know what? I worked out today. I've known the first time I came across you was in 2001.
Where was that?
That was, I bought your Lighten Up book.
Yeah, it's fascinating to think, you know, all those years ago, I still have the pleasure of working with some amazing people like you.
Just to finish it, can I just say,
Of course.
Now I'm at peace where I am. I'm really happy and peaceful, but I know there's always another level I can reach.
Yeah.
And I love that feeling.
I think that when we have that as a philosophy, or whether it just makes everything easier, because life is definitely not the way it is in fairy tales in some respects. But in fairy tales, there's always adversity, and the person overcomes the adversity and gets stronger as a consequence of it. But life is hard. And I think when you've got a vision of something, you've got hope, and you're excited about what you do, then you just resonate with a frequency where joy and gratitude tends to flow. But what I love about what you're doing is with your rituals is that I need to create this. If I want to feel love, I've got to create love. If I want to feel gratitude, which are powerful emotions, which create coherence, by the way, that you have to do that. And just because you had a good day yesterday doesn't mean you're going to have a good day tomorrow. It's like, what are you going to do to create your day? So I really genuinely want to thank you. Those of you that are listening to this, if you're listening to this on iTunes, or please leave a comment. If you're listening to this on our website or Facebook, leave a comment, because Elaine will see all of those comments. And Elaine, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for really being a wonderful example of what is possible, regardless of what's going on. So thank you so much. Make sure you join us next time for another My365 podcast, and also check out our free case study training, so you can see how we get results with the people like Elaine. Just go to mi365elite.me/case-study. That's mi365elite.me/case-study. Thank you so much, Elaine. You are absolutely fantastic.
It's been a pleasure. It's been fun.
It's been a riot.
Great. I like causing riots. And I tell you what, one thing you and I both do really well, Pete, is excitement.
Absolutely. You want to live with some excitement.